welcome to another edition of Caged Full Throttle, the only banger podcast that brings you the latest banger reports, news, fixtures and more. It's 8 o'clock on Thursday night and we just heard Jordan Holland's clock bring us into the podcast tonight, and with myself and Matt Josie, I'm joined by my regular three panellists. First of all, we say good evening to James Keane. Good evening, James.
Good evening, Matt. Good evening to everyone else, and good evening to Jordan's clock.
And good evening to Jordan Holland and his clock.
Good evening, Matt. Good evening, everyone else.
Good evening to Ed Fahey.
Good evening, and good evening to Big Barry, which is Jordan Holland's clock.
And we've also got another special guest tonight, the former Oval Talk presenter, Dave Goddard. Good evening to DG.
Well, I'm straight in. Good evening, everyone.
I was waiting for you to get that comment in there. Anyway,
we're not worthy. We're not worthy.
No, we're not worthy. So, just quickly mention the message board is open for any.
That clock chiming we heard there, I thought that was the intro to the show.
No, it's not. I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's professional, isn't it?
It should be.
That's the first time we've actually done it perfectly on time, though.
Not late for a change. And so we've got the message board, which is open for any comments or questions. We would like the hashtag Cage Nation to get involved tonight. We've also got the Moto Quiz, which Dave Goddard will be taking on. But we kick things off with the meeting reports. We've got two this week for a change. We've got the last ever firecracker as the first meeting report from Jordan and James. I don't know who's going to kick the meeting report off, but one of you two take it away.
Yes, thank you, Matt. And obviously everyone knows it was a very emotional day on the 4th of November as we lost yet another track. That is now the third track in the last 5 years, which is frankly 3 too many. But anyway, getting on to the action, and the pits were packed with around 200 cars and some really lovely, beautifully presented cars in attendance as well. It was almost a bit like firecrackers of old, walking around the pits on Sunday morning, looking at them all roll in, massive crowd of people around each one. It was a nightmare to take pictures, to be honest, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. Anyway, the course of the action was 6 heats, 3 consolations, the firecracker grand final, and an all-comers into DD to finish off proceedings. The heats were okay. It was a good start to the meeting, but there was a lot of drivers, I think, looking to save cars for the Consi and the firecracker final. Heat 1 was quite a roddy affair, to be honest. There was around 30 cars on track. It was all machinery that you'd expect to see at a number 1 limited domestic meeting, with a couple of smaller yank tanks in the mix as well. The race winner of lap 1 was 356 Harry Overy. For heat number 2, that saw 383 Jeff Smith's Daimler DS240 Hearse get absolutely wrecked on the pit bend by 388 Taylor Lump Sauter, 209 Tombo Tomwalla, and 100 Crazy Wes in his lovely Cadillac Hearse going as well. It also saw the really weird people carrier of 97, Lassie Henry Julien. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. He was taking a fair bit of stick as well. And the race winner was someone who maybe you may not expect to win a race, considering he is a great entertainer at Arena 6. It was 623 Tricky Ricky Hutton. Heat 3 again was a fairly quiet heat in comparison to the lively Heat 2. That was won by 570 Jordan Cumming. Probably the hit of the race in that one was 747 Bradley D, jacking up 192 Pavarotti Jr.'s Yank Estate on turn 1, which, to be fair, Pavarotti done very well to get back out for the consolation race later on in the day. Heat 4 was a very lively heat, which involved 66 Darren Geary taking on the midnight runner pairing of number 10 Paul Whiteman and 331 boxer Jack Jason Jackson. With some really good hits going in, it also involved number 13 Pee Wee getting pushed into 267 Don West Lexus LS400 over on turn 1, and that left Don West car in a really bad state, and it was quite an impressive wreck, I must say myself. The race winner was 322 Tom Fox, winning it in his Mercedes estate. The fifth heat saw 271 Dean Goodall give a textbook following in to the Raw Mark II saloon of 107 Benjamin Deschamps. 222 Matty High was pushed in the big Lincoln Dynamo of 810 David Smith into the pit bend, which snapped it in quite impressive style. A small pile-up formed on turns 3 and 4, but to be fair, there wasn't really many hits going in. It was just a case of drivers getting pushed into the pile-up, but then continuing on without much damage. It was West Countryman 648 Jamie Smith who came through to take the checkered flag. Heat 6 saw 239 Nemesis Steve Carter out for the first time in the day, and he was absolutely awesome to watch. Turning it around on the pit bend, taking out anyone and everyone, putting in some really good hits. It was Lightning Rod's driver 192 Anthony Lawrence who come through to take the win in a beautifully turned out Mercedes estate. A big field of cars come out for the consolation race, the first of 3, and it was a really, really savage affair with loads of hits going in, especially on turns 1 and 2, which involved a big pile-up with some massive wrecks, including for the Team V driver, 310 John Nicholson, Midnight Runner driver, 556 Lewis Barker, and loads of other cars as well. 305 Alfie Cornish in that race was absolutely superb. He was just hitting anything in sight, and he put in a really impressive display. 294 Lee Hughes came through to take the win. The second consolation was a little bit more quiet, but the hit of that race was 190 Steve Bailey Pikey, jacking the leveller driver of 688 Wayne Morfitt on turns 1 and 2 with enormous speed, and that Jaguar at the end was the definition of caged. It was 456 Nathan Roberts who came through to take the victory. And the third consolation saw the smallest grid out on track of the 3 consolations. And it was PRI veteran 348 Sonny Mushy Sherwood who came through to take the win. Moving on to the last ever Firecracker Grand Final. And it was what you'd expect from a Firecracker Grand Final. Lots of cool cars out on track. Lots of action as well, especially on turn 4. With Nemesis turning around, you had 77 Patch Beasley, 66 Darren Geary, who worked wonders to get his Jaguar back out on track. Got absolutely wrecked by the Midnight Runners. And it was just a great race. It was 294 Lee Hughes that came through to win the last ever Firecracker final in his Mark II limousine. He was followed closely home by his brother 27 Down in his Mercedes estate. Now the all-comers saw Nemesis again. He was just on one all day. First of all, he T-boned 27 Tommy Anderson hard on the entrance to turn 1 before going on opposite halfway down the back straight to jack Continental driver 94 Jan Willem Stevens. Nemesis then delivered a massive head-on to number 13 Pee-wee Pete Alicia before his car burst into flames, which did see quite a scary incident with Nemesis waving for the red flags, which didn't come out, which then meant Nemesis climbed out the car while the race was still going on, only to go and get the fire extinguisher and actually stand on track trying to put the fire out with cars still going mad. It could have been nasty, but thankfully everything was okay. But the DD in the end was won by 498 Jason Curtis in his Lincoln Town limo. And it's fair to say it's probably the right car to win the last ever DD Arena, being a Lincoln Town car limo. So it was a really good day. Probably not the firecracker of old that people were expecting. But for a modern day unlimited meeting, I thought it was absolutely superb. And James, you were at the meeting as well. Have you got any thoughts about it?
Well, it's an absolute pleasure, Jordan, to watch the last ever Firecracker with you. I know that arena means more to you than most. It's one of the first tracks that you ever fell in love with the sport with, and to see that last race with you was a pleasure. There are a few things that need to be called out. Firstly, Pee-wee getting engaged on the start-finish line during scrutineering. That was pretty cool. Absolutely massive turnout, as you said. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people have said that maybe it wasn't like a Firecracker of old, but compare it to any national banger meeting these days, and there was a lot of crashing the whole way through. Absolutely big turnout. Also over both days as well. I know the day before wasn't technically part of Firecracker, but to have the farewell for the PRI drivers. Also as well, something as you said, like having the Ashworth family present the trophy for the first race and have them all go round. Also, hilariously, trying to see Roy Rawlins put Boxer Jack's fin on his roof and come out for the DD and lightning rod, only be told to go off track. I think. Oh, sorry. But yeah, exactly. But I think it was exactly the attitude that was it was the send off arena needed. It was one of the biggest crashing meetings they've had for a long time, and I don't think anyone could go home from that without thinking it's going to be sad to see it go. And as well, Jordan, I saw how emotional I was. Not to try and embarrass you, but I think that
you really going to bring this up.
Not to try and embarrass you, but it shows how much this sport means to people. The track you grew up at, Birmingham Wheels, probably isn't long for this world. And the last Wheels meeting, I'll probably be exactly the same because it's the first track I remember being at, and I don't think anyone that has any connection to arena, any emotional connection to arena, will have any thoughts going away from that meeting other than it was the perfect send off for that track.
And it was the perfect send off to Arena Essex, and the Ferrari 400 still never got raced.
Thought you'd bring that one up.
Didn't.
And I believe you've got a quick report from the Ipswich Domestic World Final too. That was last weekend.
Yes, I do. And 200 cars turned up for that on a really cold night at Ipswich, but thankfully dry. The 3 last chance qualifiers provided some good racing, but as you'd expect being last chance qualifiers, they were quite roddy. The World Final race itself was absolutely superb, with some big hits going in on the pit bend. Joey Reynolds followed in one of the Irish drivers, Stephen Murray, into turns 3 and 4, getting his Ford Focus caught on Murray's car. Then the red flags come out, so Joey untangled himself. Then on the restart, followed in another car, but still somehow got caught up on Stephen Murray's car yet again. So it was quite a comical moment in that one. And what was also a comical moment was when Joey Reynolds come out on track, Graham Woodward asked him what would it mean to win the World Final. Joey's response was, "I'd rather win a back-to-basic final." And that just shows you what the 3 Litre boys are all about now. But returning to the action, it was a great race with 894 Mark Almeida taking the early running before he got spun out. But he done an amazing recovery drive to catch back up to number 70 Julian Beaumont, nudging him out wide on the last corner to take his second championship of the world, the first driver to win it twice. So it was a fantastic achievement for Mark, and congratulations to him. Commiserations, of course, to number 70 Julian Beaumont, who drove a great race and was unlucky not to win his first ever World Championship. I believe in the 2017 running, he also finished in the top 3 as well. So I'm sure next year will be his year, and I'm sure he'll get a victory in the big race very, very soon. Now moving on to All Comers 1, and wow, what a race that was. There was no standout, silly hits, no jacking trains. It was just good, hard, honest banger racing with every single car making contact with another, flinging them into barriers, pushing them into pile-ups. Cars nudging them out wide. It was just awesome stuff to see. And fair to say, something that you don't often see at banger racing nowadays, actual banger racing. So that was a great race, and obviously Liverpool will be in the next edition of Will Spin, so you can read up all about that. But it was 191 Kieran Greenway who did come through to take the win despite all the carnage. The second all-comers was a much more quiet affair, but it was PRR driver 521 Jack Coveney who came through to take the win. And the Destruction Derby saw it only take place on turns 3 and 4 due to only a small amount of cars out, but even that saw some great hits. It was 266 Daniel Smith who took the DD win to round out a fantastic night at Ipswich, and I must say it was the first time I went to the domestic banger world final, and I said it on Facebook as well after the meeting, but the national bangers could learn a lot from the domestic bangers in terms of racing attitude and in terms of the crowd as well. The crowd were just there to enjoy themselves. There was no drunk people, there was no people misbehaving. It was just a great night, and to be honest, probably put the National Banger World final to shame over the last couple of years. And again, James, me and you watched that meeting together. So what were your thoughts on it?
It is one of the most exciting and enjoyable banger meetings I've been to in recent memory. There's only so many times we can call this the underrated event of the year and before it starts getting overhyped, but it just lived up to all expectations. There was actual racing the whole way around, which is great. There were some really big hits, some big follow-ins, but all well within the spirit of what banger racing is. The final race was just exciting right down to the last moment. The all-comers had some huge hits and everyone out there to enjoy themselves. The big hit on 28 Matty was huge as well. Like if you see the photos of that wreck, it's like it was exactly what you want to see from banger racing in terms of respecting the drivers, competitive spirit, racing. It was absolutely fantastic meeting all round. And like you said, the atmosphere as well was really good because no one's there basically hoping for controversy. They're there hoping to see a good banger race, and it absolutely delivered.
So I think that concludes the 2 meeting reports from Ipswich and the Firecracker. Which thank you, Jordan.
Does.
Thank you, Jordan, for your reports, and obviously James for your extending comments on those 2 meetings. And we move on now to the news. Of course, the fixtures are starting to dribble out now for the 2019 season. Kicking things off, we mentioned the Classic Carnage at Arlington, which is an annual classic car meeting. It's penciled in for Saturday, the 17th of August, for pre-83-ish bangers in an unders format. Also including the 245 Jack France testimonial meeting, so that'd be a great night of classic action at Eastbourne. In terms of other Speed of fixtures, we've noticed as well, you can check these out online by the way, the Speed of website, Milden Norton and Increase as well. We noticed as well, all the shots starting a little bit earlier than what it did this year even, on the Sunday the 10th of February, and it's the first round of the National Banger Unlimited BWS round, so an interesting one for that one. James, I know you're going to be freezing cold to that one. A little bit colder than the Frostbite Challenge, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit cold there, isn't it?
It will be.
I'm going to have to wave a lot of flags just to stay warm.
And hopefully it'd be a good start to the BWS round, because normally the All-Shot one's pretty much it's all right, I think. So hopefully a big turnout of cars for that one. We've also had another Domestic Banger World Championship at Ringwood for the Rookie World Final. That was won by 938 Ashley Rice. Speaking of Ringwood, the Unlimited Banger UK Open Championship, that is on Saturday the 1st of December, has now hit over 130 cars, which should be a blinder. And the cage meeting, of course, we're just a week and a bit now until the first running of the cage meeting at Stanley Arena on Sunday the 2nd of December, the day after Ringwood. We've currently got 62 unders and 25 unlimited, so it should be a good day of action. We do want it to be a day of crashing, not rodding. It is a non-points meeting as well to make it more interesting. We've got, so far, 8 trophies for the meeting we're providing. We've got 2 Best Entertainer Awards, 2 Top Car Awards, 2 Grand Final Winner Awards, and we've got 2 trophies, 2 bonus trophies. That could be for anything on the day, which could be Most Wrecked Car, hardest try or something like that, or even more top car awards. Depends what we get on the day. So we'll decide that later on in the day. Any other news before we move on that any of you want to mention?
Yeah, I was going to say Tullerone Oval in Northern Ireland is having their very first Back to Basics under 1800cc barns this Sunday. And for an Irish meeting, it's a surprise because there's actually a lot of cars booked in, so it should be a good session. See how B2B goes on this side of the Irish Sea. And that wasn't intentional rhyming.
Any other news? Dave Goddard?
I was going to say...
Another meeting report that I could provide you with from the world of Back to Basics.
You could do it quickly if you want. A quick little...
Yep. While everyone else was at Firecracker, I was at the fireworks meeting at Hensford, where we had the annual Man of the Midlands Championship. It changed to Back to Basics rules for the first time this year. We had over 50 cars in attendance, including a lot of variety, as is normal with Back to Basics. I think one of the most unusual cars that I saw was the Citroen Berlingo. I've forgotten the name of who raced it now. It was painted up like a Postman Pat van, which drew a few smiles from the crowd. Title race was a cracker. As ever, the Scrapyard Screamers dominated, as they do every Hensford meeting, and it was Dale Locker, number 299, who won the title in his Fiesta. The other two races on the day won by Gavin Robinson, number 21 from the Demons in an MGZR, and Trevor Perry, 471 in a Rover. Dale Locker winning a very lively demolition derby as well. It was a good day at Hensford, a bit damp, it drizzled all the way through, but that's firework night for you, and a very enjoyable meeting it was.
Oh, thank you for that one, Dave. It's I'm blushing here having you on the show, actually. It's making me quite happy. And
that's scary.
Yeah, it is a little bit, isn't it? And we move on now to what would be the usual discussion part of the podcast. We're not bothering that this week. Instead, I'm passing you back over to Dave Goddard again, because he's going to preview for you now the annual Champion of Champions meeting for Unlimited Bangers at Birmingham.
Yes, traditional season closer for Inca Race coming up this Saturday evening. Kicks off at 5 p.m. on Saturday at Wheels Raceway, Birmingham. The Champion of Champions for Unlimited National Bangers. All the title winners from across the season coming together for this one on the same grid. It's been held every year, I think, since 1993. And I believe the first winner was Jack Overy. And he is booked in for this year. He's likely to start as the favourite. 617 Jack Overy has won 4 titles this year. He's the BBA Supreme Champion. He won the World Cup at Cowdenbeath for the umpteenth time in his career. Won the Aldershot Open and the Southern Championship at Arlington, as well. So he's likely to start as the favourite. Of course, the other prolific title winner this season was 331 Boxer Jack. But because of his shenanigans at the Firecracker, I'm not going to go into that in detail because it's been done to death on Oval Chat anyway. He is currently serving a ban, so we won't see him challenging for victory this year. What other champions have we got booked in? I'm looking through the list now. We have got 79 at last count Unlimited Bangers booked in for Birmingham. Some of the champions that are booked in, we've got the Great Northern Champion from Barford. That's Joe Parsons, number 25. It doesn't seem 5 minutes to me since he was racing in the ORCI mini stocks at Birmingham. 33 Magic, Gary Madgwick won the Heavy Metal Classic at Standlake right back at the beginning of the year. He's booked in. The former world champion, of course. Who else have we got out there? The Speedworth Unlimited world champion, 124 Oris. Karl Kozewski is booked in following his victory at Ipswich, probably bringing the same Mercedes that he raced on that occasion. It's also good to see 185 Lenny Smith, the Barton Boys man, excuse me, back out. He won the Hensford Veterans meeting this year. Other title winners booked in, 267 James Steele. He's won a couple of titles at PRI this year, including the Micro World Series. He could be a factor, does go well around Birmingham. The Hughes brothers are booked in, Dale and Lee, stuntman as he's known. 528 Jethro, Alan Hunt making a return to Birmingham. We all know his prowess in a rear-wheel drive car. He won the Classics division at the HMC at Standlake this year. 455 Ricky Finney, he's won the Champion of Champions title before a few years ago. He won the King of the Peak at Buxton to qualify this year. What other champions have we got from across the season? The Standlake Old Boys meeting, that was won by 622 Gary Webb. Normally likes his yank tanks at Unlimited meetings. We'll see what he brings to Birmingham. 625, Josh Gooch, the winner of the Grimley Unlimited Open, is booked in as well. Number 625, that's Josh Gooch. I've forgotten what his nickname is, actually. That's a bit embarrassing. My Bangor knowledge has slipped in recent years, I will admit. 632 could well be there. Yes, 632, Callum Reid, I believe won the Pride of the Potter is at Stoke at the weekend in his Mark 1 Granada. 717, Jack Tuffin, he's the reigning champion of champions. 757, Callum Gill is booked in. He won the Moonshine meeting, which, if memory serves me right, was at Swaffham. 887, Rob Browning, he won Champion of Champions 2 years ago and is the Arlington Classic Carnage champion, so he'll be in the main event. We've also got 907, Cameron Bradford, the Auto Speed world champion. Look out for him, only at 17 years of age and already a world champion. So those are just some of the title winners who are booked in for this meeting. Then looking at the rest of the list, who else have we got up there? The Demons represented, Gavin Robinson, we've already mentioned. Number 18, Ashley Law, who put in a good performance at the Speedworth World Final and the support races this year. Number 72, Billy Bond. He likes a bit of material, might turn up with something a bit unusual. We've got the Scrapyard Screamers, Chris Cullum, Dale Locker and their teammates. I think Dale Locker's got an XJ for this one. Bradley Challenger 281 will probably have an XJ40 as well. He likes them. Charlie King is booked in. Number 204 from the south. A couple more Barton boys are booked in. James Rushton and Jamie Pole. Sophie Fazy, the leading lady of Bangor racing, by and large on the national scene. Northern legend Eno, John Nicholson, 310. Even Chris Reed's coming back out, 332. Reedy Senior, great to see him back out. When was the last time he raced? I can't remember the last time I saw him.
No idea. I'll leave that to you, Dave.
Martin Mullins for the Demons. Nathan Oldham, we've not seen him out for a while. 384 Goldie. Been with the Motley crew, of course, many years. 478 Chucker, Chris Spears. Jordan Cumming, we've already mentioned him in the Firecracker Roundup, number 570. Really is quite a high-quality entry. Another driver we've not seen for a while, 670 Tricky. Richard Flockton making a return to Birmingham. And also booked in, we've got 341 Jonesy and 714 No Show. Now, I think we know what that's going to mean. Is it going to be the latest battle between two certain teams that we all know far too much about their antics from reading Oval Chat every day?
Probably. It's going to happen, isn't it?
The other side aren't booked in yet. I can tell you that. But just a quick appeal to those drivers. Can we have a concerted effort to race properly this time, please? We all know what went on at the World Final, and we don't want to see a repeat of it. Thank you very much.
Get out of the way.
Well, all you can
Dave
do is
has
ask.
spoken.
Dave has spoken. Hashtag Dave has spoken. There you go. It's over. The end.
We know what goes on, and we know what went on at last year's event, and I don't want to see a repeat of it. I don't want the meeting spoiled, and we want a good way to sign off this season at Birmingham as well. I must mention as well, we've got 47 junior bangers booked in as well. Now, a couple of years ago at this event, the juniors, I have to admit, knocked spots off the senior bangers for entertainment. They're going to be trying to do so again. Huge field of junior bangers booked in, and support from the Rebel racers as well. It all kicks off 5 p.m. this Saturday, the 24th of November. Let's hope it stays dry for it. And I mean, we had the track covered in ice a few years ago for it by the end of the meeting, but hopefully it's not going to be that bad this year. So a great night coming up at Birmingham for Champion of Champions this coming Saturday. Hopefully see you there.
Yes, thank you, Dave, for that brilliant preview of the...
And Dave, it wouldn't be the first. I was going to say, it wouldn't be the first time at Birmingham this year that the junior bangers have started to upstage their national counterparts, given that at the 2 litre final, the junior bangers put on a very impressive display, and they did the so last year. And also with your comments about please just try and keep it off the infield, because Champion of Champions is one of the events that I hold really, really close to my heart. One of the best events of the year, one of the first events I ever went to. So I'm really looking forward to this event. So very much thank you for your...
Well, I've been to another junior banger meeting at Birmingham in October, and I think we had more rollovers than the National Lottery. So they certainly know how to put on a show around Birmingham.
Sort of comment. And moving on now to the next part of the podcast, something we're squeezing in last minute is it's now time for the second annual Caged Awards. Now, last year, the two main awards, Driver of the Year, went to 713 Lauren Annetts, and the Team of the Year went to Team Sauter and Filmer. This year, they've been segregated into two completely different awards. So you've got Nationals first, then we're going to have the Rookie Domestic Awards. Just going to run through what you can, what categories we've got, and roughly some of the names that you can vote for. So for we've got Driver of the Year, which is the most obvious one. You can vote for the likes of 247 Lee Clark, 190 Pikey, 331 Jason Jackson, or 617 Jack Overy, among other names as well. You've got a most improved category, which includes former national Hot Rod World Champion 76 Adam Maxwell, 159 Callum Campbell, 362 Johnny James, and 570 Jordan Cumming. There's an Entertainer of the Year, which includes 51 James Licorice. Can't say that properly. 77 Patch, 160 Jamie War, and 178 Kieran Bowman. Team of the Year, which was won by Team Sauter last year. They're in the shortlist this year once again, along the likes of Midnight Runners, Gladiators, Damage Inc., Team Black, and Team Sour. Best Young Gun, it's got plenty of nominations this year. We've got Ben Randall, Kieran Bowman, Alfie Cornish, Harry Overy, and the likes of Cameron Bradford, who won the Auto Speed World Final at the age of just 17. Car of the Year, quite plenty of nominations this year. You've got I'm not going to say half his names, sorry. We've got a 346 Scott Saunders of a Daimler DE27 Hearse. We've got 439 Danny Sutton with a Packard Clipper, and 622 Gary Webb with a 1969 Lincoln Continental. Plenty of classic cars on that short list. Mr. Material, you've got likes of number 1. I must say this right, Ed. Martin Steenbeckers. Is that anywhere close to pronouncing it right? I do not know.
Close enough.
Close enough, that'd
do. Fairly accurate.
Oh, that'd do. 72 right. Billy Bond.
I just call him Mr. Yanktank.
Mr. Yanktank, number 1. That'd do.
The madman with the mullet.
And as always, 476 Ross Coleman is on there. Mr. Dedicated, you got Adam Hitchcock.
The man who races cars that Keith Reynolds would turn his nose up at.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Nick Larkin.
Sort of classic cars.
And Nick Larkin.
Now, Meeting of the Year is always an interesting one. You've got, of course, the King Memorial Weekend, MN Teams, Arlington Bears Big Bash, which I think won it last year, and Arena Essex Roy Rollins Pre-90 Testimonial Weekend. Best promotion, you've got the likes of Speedrift, Star Tracks. Stan Lake's on there, if you want to vote for Stan Lake. You've got Campso and DMC Race Promotions, with a few others as well. And that's it for the Caged Awards for the National Banger Scene. Of course, we've got the Rookie Awards to come as well. So to vote, you can message us on our Facebook page. You can email us at cagebangers.co.uk and .com, sorry. That's about it, really. So, yeah, get voting. And we're going to move on now to the part of the podcast we all love, and that is the Mouldy Old Quiz. And I know that, of course, Dave Goddard will be taking part this week. So, James, I'm going to leave it to you.
So this is the part where I usually do an interview with the person coming on, but given he's been on from the beginning and he is more experienced than all of us at presenting motorsports, it seems a bit bad. But I've got to ask the two questions that I always ask. Dave, how did you get involved in open motor racing?
Well, it was always from birth, really. I was taken to Speedway and stock car meetings as a youngster by my parents. So my parents were Birmingham Speedway fans. And we'd also go to Hensford Raceway. My first love, I will admit to this, were the National Hot Rods. But I got into bangers through working at Hensford when I was 16, started out doing reports for the various websites and magazines. And when I was about 20, that was 2006, I fell into commentating. I was asked to take over midway through a meeting at Birmingham, and it's gone from there. And here I am still going.
So I think from there, speaking, especially, I know we've got Jordan here, a student doing sports journalism, absolutely passionate about motorsport. If you could give some advice to anyone listening that wants to get involved in sports journalism, what would it be? Get
yourself published anywhere that you can, really. Just write as many words as you can, email as many people as you can, be persistent, be consistent, talk to as many people as you can, get as many contacts as you can, and be enthusiastic. That's all I can say, really. I feel a bit of a fraud because I've fallen into it almost by accident. I fell into commentating by accident, and I've just been filling in for the past 12 years. Really, is how I feel.
But I think it's when you have that chance and you're passionate about it, just take it. Is basically the message there.
Yes, take any chances you are given. Never turn work down, and keep your contacts close to you. Don't ever let contacts drop away. Try not to turn anything down, and keep hold of work once you've got it.
So we're about to move into the mouldy old quiz, and with every guest, we always make sure it's slightly within their ballpark. So for you, this is going to be a slightly in-car race heavy quiz. I'm going to run through the rules. I'm going to ask Mr. Josie to take us on the rolling lap. The listeners at home will hear the rolling lap music. Unfortunately, we won't due to technical limitations. But then he'll say the words green, green, green. From there, Jordan will start timing. You have 90 seconds. There are 10 questions. If you pass on one, we'll come back to it if we have time. You have one lifeline. If you say thumbs down, I'll give you a clue. We'll stop the clock while we give you a clue. Ring through the scoreboard. Adam Brown is top after his arena quiz. So we'll see if you can go better after the in-car race quiz. Mr. Josie, are you ready with the rolling lap?
I'm very ready.
Jordan, you ready with the clock?
I am ready with the stopwatch.
Mr. Goddard, are you ready?
Yes.
No, he's not. Lies. Don't get nervous now, Dave. Don't get nervous.
Matt Josie, please take us away on the rolling lap.
All I can say is, let's go quizzing. And we're green.
What name was the name for Rookie Bangers before Speedworth took over at in-car race?
Almost.
Correct. Which formula was an armoured form of bangers with less contact, often ending in a figure of 8?
Street stocks.
Correct. Who won the first ever bus/coach demolition derby at Hensford?
Gazoe.
Correct. Which team bigger than the 90s did Rob Baker race for?
Birmingham Wasps.
Correct. Which energy drink was briefly sponsored NIR?
Primo.
Correct. Who was the last in-car race driver to win the Speedworth World Final?
427 Dean McPhilby.
Correct. Wheels was threatened in the mid-2000s by which two sports teams about to share a stadium on the land?
Birmingham City FC was one. Can't think of the other.
Do you want to pass?
Yeah, can't think of the other. Pass.
Right. Name 3 other sports that you can do at Birmingham Wheels.
Banger racing, off-road karting, and regular karting.
And one more, because of other sports. One more.
Rollerblading.
Correct. Which make and model of car won the Prix 68 in the year 2000, and who was the driver for 2 points?
Red flag.
Are you alright, James? You sounded a bit ill there.
My voice is starting to go. I've had a bad throat all week, and my voice is starting to go. Oh.
Didn't we need a recovery truck? Put him off. Red flag, Sharon. Red flags.
See, I feel really bad saying this. I think this is like 7.5 points, but I think we have to do it at 7 because I did say which.
Gone.
Yeah.
Should we give Dave an extra 10 seconds to try and figure out that last question?
No, because I don't know it.
Fair enough. Let's not then.
Plus, you didn't answer that. You didn't ask him properly because the actual question which I submitted was, what was the make and model of car that won the overs at the Prix 68?
Yes, I didn't know which class it was.
So overs is the question.
Mr. Clean.
Do you know the answer?
My guess would be one of the Warlords in a Jag, but that might be slightly before they used to attend.
No. The correct answer is a Bentley T1 or T2, which was only on the original engine.
Yes.
Which was at the time when Rolls Royces were, oh my god, a Rolls Royce on the track, whereas now they're fairly common, shall we say.
It was actually a roller or a Bentley, wasn't it?
It was a Bentley, and it had been at one stage in its life used for circuit racing, so it was used for full contact racing. And the irony of it all is it got walloped straight in by the slowest car on the track, which was a Rover P4. So, can we have the scores, please?
And you haven't told me who the driver was. I still can't remember.
I was going to say that hasn't answered the question.
Steve Butler. And
a little bit before I started working at Hensford. That was. I was following Speedway at that time, so I wouldn't have been there.
And the other question.
Go on.
And the other question: Wales was threatened in the mid 2000s by which two sports teams sharing a stadium on the land? You got Birmingham City Football Club. The other is Warwickshire County Cricket Club.
Of course.
Who likes cricket anyway?
Overall score, Dave Goddard, you have scored 7 out of 10.
7. Not bad.
I couldn't beat Adam Brown.
Equal with Ed Fahey, James Dillon, and Cecil.
Yeah. I'll take that. I'm happy with that.
And
it also means I'm ahead of Adam Maxwell and Keith Reynolds, which is the only time that'll ever happen in this sport.
Well, you got something you can be proud of, haven't you, Dave? So that's all good. And
yes,
that closes the Moto Quiz for another week. We would have the message board now, and once again, Ed, the hashtag Cage Nation have not been delivering it all, have they? They just aren't interested anymore.
No.
Have a moan. Go on, have a moan. I want you to have a moan.
This is your chance to say what you like to us. We might not read it out, but you get your opportunity anyway.
They heard I was on it, so no one's listening.
No, not at all. Well, it means we can
happens at Birmingham.
It means we can talk about something else very briefly. I'm sure those of you older than Dave Goddard and myself would probably remember the Brentwood Racing Car Show, which was down there in Essex.
I remember that. I'm not that young.
Well, a long time ago, pre-internet, if you know what I mean, pre-broadband anyway, they used to have the Brentwood Racing Car Show, which is basically a racing car show for all kinds of, say, short oval racing, whether it was autograss cars, Formula 1 stock cars, hot rods, rallycross, all kinds of stuff, really. That show was cancelled a few years back, and it kind of morphed into the Autosport show, which unfortunately seems to be having a fairly depleting oval scene nowadays. But now there's a new show, and it has attitude because it's called Motorsport with Attitude. That will be on the February the 16th and 17th, 2019, and that's at the East of England Arena in Peterborough. So at the moment, the organisers are looking for anything and everything oval related. So whether it's
I'm going to both, so I'll be able to deliver reports for you on both, hopefully.
Excellent. But no, it seems to be a good thing. They're obviously pushing the whole oval side of it, because most motorsport shows aren't about, say, the motorsports that you could do yourself, whereas this show is. There's something for everyone with this. So the lineup looks good. Let's just hope it's support as well. The only thing that'll stop it is the weather, I suppose. But what's nothing that traditional oval racing attire, in other words, a very thick hat and a woolly jacket will sort out for you. I just said it the wrong way around, and I'm aware of that. But no, the other thing is we actually have a vacancy here at Cage, so we're looking for a Facebook admin. So if anyone is feeling brave and sane, the benefits are the pay is fantastic, and you get a pay rise. You actually get a pay rise at the end of your first year. You go from nothing to double nothing. The pension plan is very good. You're given a cheap burger, which may shorten or increase your lifespan. And you get to be a panelist on Cage occasionally. That's the clincher, really. If you haven't got a good speaking telephone voice like me, you will not be permitted to come on. So yes, if you're interested in bangers, if you can take a good photograph, if you're good at processing information, and if you're sane, there is an opportunity there for you.
And
but this has only been a pub.
And you get to join the Cage gang on the Facebook group chat as well for all the banter.
You do, which is mostly
Caged gang.
Cage gang, which is mostly involves slagging off Matt Josie and Dave Goddard with animated GIFs.
Yes.
And then you can indeed join the hashtag Cage family.
Yes.
Yeah, and you don't manage to get your head photoshopped either. I dodged the bullet there.
Nah.
Poor Ed. Missed him out, didn't we? Not enough room in the car.
Yeah,
Oh. No, well, I'm in the helicopter. Ha, ha, ha.
yeah. He's in the caged helicopter.
Oh, that's the thing, Ed.
On my way.
Are you even coming to the caged meeting? I don't even know if you are or not.
I'll be there in spirit, unfortunately.
You'd be there in spirit. That's good enough.
We're
Well,
going to
I'll
do
be-
a cardboard cutout.
I'll be there.
of
I'll be
Eddie.
there in spirits because I'll be getting drunk in another part of the Midlands at a party.
Well, I mean, if I was there, I would be there to present the titanium-lined platinum roof awards to the winner, because it's that important. The winner, he doesn't get gold, he gets titanium-lined platinum, two of the world's rarest materials, as his roof for the year.
For
And
anybody,
hopefully that'll get him on.
for
Not
anybody,
that we want to encourage rodding at our
No.
meeting. Should be
but
pointed out.
speaking of rodding, we have got the two final race winners trophies, and at the moment we're going to call them the Caged Cups. Yeah, I know, a little bit over dramatic there, maybe. We're going to put them in. We're going to include them with the colours of the cage logo, so black and orange. A bit of warning: the trophy's not as big as I'd like them to be, so a bit smaller than second and third place trophies, but they're I
That's the
suppose.
first time you've heard that, Matt. Is that the first time you've...
I was going to say.
What's that?
You took the words out of my mouth there.
What have I done?
Caged taking his back again.
It is. But yeah.
Oh,
It's a good thing we're on after the watershed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is definitely.
Yeah,
And,
no, actually.
Well, it's
I mean-
just 9 o'clock. We're not till 9 o'clock yet.
no,
Right.
we've
Past Jordan,
Next-
past Jordan.
We haven't heard Jordan's wall clock chime again yet. So then
Yes.
we'll the watershed.
well, we've got the
14
fixtures.
minutes.
We've got the fixtures next. There's not many meetings to mention over the next fortnight, so we're going to quickly go over them quickly. So we got this Saturday at Birmingham is of course the Unlimited Champion of Champions, and that's what I've got for this weekend. And then the following weekend, obviously Saturday the 1st, Ringwood Unlimited UK Open. Sunday the 2nd, it's the Caged meeting. Whoop whoop, can't wait for that. And Stoke Micro Bangers. That's all I've got. That's all I can find on the Oval Chat for fixtures, pretty much. Nothing else really
Well, that's
to
why you
mention.
don't rely on Oval Chat. Well, that's why you don't rely on Oval Chat for your fixtures, because you've told your own. You're
Yep.
more back to basics this weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah,
You have
Winning
Ireland
Paul
and back
Toward
to
and his
basics
stats on
as
the-
well this weekend. This Saturday night, Ireland and back to basics. I think nearly 70 booked in, so that should be a good evening of racing, along with the 1300cc stock cars, Best in Britain Championship.
and
which-
before our next podcast, Jordan, I was going to say we also have the 8th at Eastbourne for Micro Madness as well.
Yes.
The
We
season
do.
hasn't ended yet down in the south,
No.
where the weather is slightly warmer.
Yes. Is indeed. I'm going to go to Eastbourne in my shorts, I think. Just 'cause that's how much warmer it is down here at the moment. In the
I-
south.
I think that's pretty much it already for the podcast. Just enough time as well to get ready for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I'm sure there's plenty of people that will be
Shut up.
watching that tonight. I can just see the
Which
fingers.
means you don't
No,
have
you
to
know
rush off, Matthew.
I can just see Dave
Yeah, I think
Goddard's
that's why-
fingers.
That's why Matt's hurried through this podcast. I want to watch I'm a Celebrity.
Yeah, I'm not denying
Well,
that,
there's
though,
actually-
am I?
I was gonna say there's a celebrity. Like I'm really old, as some people know, so there's actually celebrities on it that I actually know, and a childhood icon is actually on it. Well, when I was a child, that is, which was in the Middle Ages.
And we all know that is.
Yep, it's the guy with the beard. He used to be on TV a lot.
And
Beardy, he might be,
he's a big F1 stock car fan as well. Not a lot of people know that.
and he raced. He
Is he?
raced Brisket
Never knew that.
at one stage.
Long time ago.
There you
He
go.
did,
That's
but he
your
raced.
fact of the day for all the listeners out there.
And
To be
he
fair,
helped
I-
out, who was it? He helped out Don Payne Oz's team in the early years of their Le Mans campaign in the late 90s.
Rest in peace, Don. No,
Yes,
he's always been a.
passed away earlier this year.
Yeah, he's always been a motor racing fan. He used to get money for doing celebrity races and all that. We are, of course, talking
Well,
about Mr. Noel. We are, of course, talking about Mr. Noel Edmonds, and I'm sure he's done Wimbledon charity or celebrity banger racing back in the day as well.
Well, he used to have car stunts on his programs, didn't he? Things like car jumping and things like that.
He did, and I'm sure he's done a Wimbledon banger race at one stage, like all the celebrities did back then. So yeah, he could
Imagine
be.
that now.
I know. Well, let's see. We
That
won't talk
could be
about
a
that
future
incident.
topic. If you could stage a celebrity banger race at well, not at Wimbledon now, obviously, but if we were going to have one of those charity celebrity races, who would you want to see in it? That could be a topic for a future show.
But they all wouldn't race because they'd literally get their front bumper dented, red flags, helicopters, paparazzi everywhere, you know. Oh no, my integrity has been dented. Help.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Well, unfortunately, it was inevitable. It's just the way celebrities have gone these days. They have no class. They're just there for the money.
Obviously,
I still want to do that debate on a future show, though, if I'm permitted to return.
You are permitted. You are permitted.
I think you are permitted, Dave.
Have we not mentioned? Obviously, forgotten about the old Top Gear crew: Jeremy Clarkson, James Main, Richard Hammond. Get them in some bangers.
Yeah,
car challenge.
Jeremy Clarkson's race bangers.
He has on a few times.
He has indeed. Yeah.
He raced at Hensford in Shane Pear's race with the future Top Gear producer Andy Willman. I was there.
He was. And they actually got smashed good and proper, and they said fair enough. But from what I heard at the time, what happened off camera was a little bit different. I think one of them was a little bit upset, and it wasn't the curly headed.
I will ask the Demons team about that because it was them who built their cars.
I think it was the Demons that put them in as well.
Yes, it was. It was Walker and Chris Hill, Festa.
Naughty boys.
So no one wants Roxanne Pallett to return to the Oval, then that's just...
No.
James, you had to go there. We nearly finished the podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, we could probably do this celebrity banger racing in conjunction with Carnage. That would be interesting because it would have the whole Hollywood aspect to it, and it would be in the middle of the desert in South Africa. How cool would that be?
I need to get passport sorted out then.
I've still not watched Carnage. Is it basically Robot Wars with full-size cars?
And full-size people, and ones who can, and ones who can drive and build a good robot, and ones who just can't. And there's obviously a bit of pizzazz for the camera thrown in as well. It was interesting. It was one of those things. Go on.
It is well worth a watch, in my opinion, Dave. And for anyone else who hasn't seen it, I would probably recommend watching Carnage.
We'll need to get Bodger on to get the truth. Yep, we'll need to get Bodger on at some stage to discuss it. Now that he's calmed down, he got a bit emotional for the camera. Now, was he told, do this for the camera, or was he genuinely emotional? That is the question.
From seeing Bodger race, I think he is a full heart on his sleeve kind of bloke. I don't think he'd put anything on for any cameras. I think he is what you see, so... We'll have to get him on the podcast, as you said, Ed, and we'll ask him about that.
Definitely have to. And I think that closes the podcast for another show. So we're going to say, before we go, we'll say goodnight to our panellists. 4 of them tonight. So good night to James Keane.
Good night, Matt. Good night to everyone listening.
Good night to Jordan Hollands, even though he's really young.
Yes, even though I'm really young. Good night, Matt. Good night, everyone else. Thank you for listening.
I hope he calms down sometime tonight. Good night to Ed Fahey.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Cage Nation.
And it's been an honour. Good night to Dave Goddard.
Thanks very much for having me. Wallop straight over and out.
No problem.
And we're not worthy.
No, we're not worthy at all. So thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you at the Cage meeting in a week and a bit's time. Certainly come. It'd be worth going to make a weekend of it, along with the Unlimited UK Open Championship at Ringwood. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.